friends, it's Tracy and Violet from Tea Time with Tracy and Violet. Yeah, she's over there on the floor laying down, but she's here, she's present. I just put the kids to bed a little while ago. It's 9:37 in the evening. It's been a long day, so I'm going to have a pot of tea and talk about a book that I read, and I'll talk about it with you. I need some company, some grown folks company. So I'm sitting in front of my piano. We've got a beautiful, well, spooky Halloween village up there. Yeah, we're all decked out for Halloween now. Make this haunted house really haunted. So I don't know how to use lights to not wash things out, but this is like a yellow teacup with gold. Oh, there, kind of, you can see gold. Now, inside, there's a beautiful flower, and she has gold all up around the top, all down here, but between the lip here and where her shoe is white. There. And her whole handle is gold. The same goes for her skirt or pedestal. Isn't that beautiful? Bone china Windsor, made in England. So we're gonna have a bit of tea. Is my shirt all inside out? No. I know I've been told this is a coffee one, but I use it for tea because I just do. I gotta hold it because the lid could possibly fall off because I didn't fill it right to the top. I'm having a cinnamon cozy tea. Oh, there. Good and hot. I've let it steep for a little while. And when I drink it, I can see the flower because it's facing me. Ooh, that's hot. Violet, you want a cuppa? She just rolled her eyes at me. All right. The book I want to talk to you about today is No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Nevill. Yeah. Oh, just a minute. Oh, sorry guys, I had to make a little more room on my phone. So anyways, yes, No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Nevill. And it's kind of a big book, but don't be afraid of that. I read this book I read this book the beginning of this month, the beginning of September. So, yeah, I'll post this the beginning of October, just so it coincides with my October reviews of September books. But yes, I wanted to talk about this now. This book, well, let me just read the back of it so you get a gist for it. You might have heard of it. A lot of people have talked about it, but I'm going to talk about it too. When Stephanie moves to a notoriously cheap neighborhood in Birmingham, she's happy to find an affordable room to rent that's just large enough not to deserve her previous room's nickname, the Cell. The eccentric landlord seems overly friendly and welcoming. The ceilings are high and all of the other tenants are also girls. Things aren't great, but they're stable. Or at least that's what she tells herself when she impulsively hands over the money to cover the first month's rent and decides to give it a go. But soon after, she becomes uneasy about her rash decision. She hears things in the night, feels them, things or people who aren't there in the light, who couldn't be there, because after all, her door is locked every night and the key is still in place in the morning. Concern soon turns to terror when the voices she hears and presence she feels each night become hostile. It's clear that something very bad has happened in this house, and something even worse is happening now. Stephanie has to find a way out before whatever whatever's going on in this house finds her first. No one gets out alive. Will chill you straight through to the core. A cold, merciless, fear-inducing nightmare to the last page. A word of caution. Don't read this one in the dark. Yes. All right, so like the back said, this is about a young lady named Stephanie, and she's in absolutely dire straits. I forget how old she is, late teens, early 20, very, very young. And she doesn't really have anybody in the world. I think her mom passed when she was born or when she was little, so she grew up with her father. Her father remarried, and her father ended up passing later on, like in her teen years. So that left her with her stepmother, who she did not have a good relationship with. And you learn more about that, but she really did not have a good relationship with her stepmother, so she left. And she doesn't have any other family in the world. Now, it says she finds this cheap apartment. I think it was 40 quid. I'm not sure what that is in Canadian money or American or United States money, but 40 quid a week. Is that good? Must be. That's what it said in here. And she is a person that is struggling for work. She's trying to work her tail off. She works temp jobs. So it's not like a full-time job. She calls in every day. Is there a temp job here, temp job there, like for a temp agency. So she gets straggle jobs, nothing consistent, 1 or 2 days straight work, and then she's fighting for another job and another job and another job, and none of them pay well. And she pretty much has the clothes on her back and whatever she can carry. She did have a boyfriend when she left. They had since passed or went their opposite ways or different ways when we get into the story, but that was the closest thing she had to any kind of a family, because all of her blood relatives, it doesn't say any mention of extended relatives or anything like that, but her mom and dad passed, and it's her evil stepmother that has nothing to do with her, and she doesn't have anything to do with the stepmother. So when she stumbles across this room, because the place she was staying in, she dubbed it the cell because it was literally a box, and she was paying more money, I think, for that than this new place that seems magical, like big room, all female tenants, high ceilings. This guy seems very nice, although eccentric. He's kind of strange, but he seems very friendly. And for something she could pretty much afford. So she goes there. She ends up going to this apartment. Well, it's a house, really. It's a giant house. Big, old, giant house. It's almost like one of those apartment buildings / houses that some of the rooms are flats, like with a little kitchenette and stuff. Some of them are just bedrooms. So it'd be like a giant house converted into apartments. But she doesn't have an apartment. She has a bedroom. But the bedroom was still at least twice the size of her cell. So the first night, she's excited when she gets there. It's nothing fancy, but there's a bed. I think there's a little dresser, maybe a closet, I don't know. There's a fireplace, and I think her bedroom is like a pale blue, if I recall. Anyway, she's laying in bed, and it's quiet. The door locks from the inside, so the key's where the doorknob is, and she hears scratching, almost like somebody crumpling up a bag underneath her bed. And she hears different things like whispers from her fireplace. And at one point she feels like part of her bed, like somebody just sat down on her bed. And of course, she's paralyzed with fear. And who wouldn't be if you're already in dire straits, and then all of a sudden, where the heck am I? The first night there, and then all this crazy's happening. She doesn't get hurt or anything. She just scares the bejesus out of herself because her mind is running wild. Is she going crazy, or is there somebody in my bedroom? I have to get the high heck out of here. Anyways, she finally snaps out of it and turns her lamp on. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. So the rest of the night, she pretty much doesn't sleep. Like, if she sleeps, it's because she's exhausted and, you know, like that. That's what she does. And she's like, I can't stay here. I can't stay here. And she was only there one night. She was like, I'm going to tell the landlord, I forget what it is, Knacker. Knacker. That's how you would say it, I think. I got to tell him I would like to have a refund. I can't stay here. And that was her plan. Unfortunately, she couldn't go talk to him first thing in the morning because she had a job to go to that day. And she is in a situation where she can't, okay, I just won't go to work this day. You go to work, honey. And she did. So when she came back, of course, all day, that's all she's thinking about, worried about, oh, I need to try to get my rent back. I hope it gives my rent back because that's all the money she has in the world. And so, you know how you would have a big knot in your stomach when you're worried about having to tell somebody something? That's how she was feeling. She arrives, and eventually she goes up to where he's staying, which is the top floor, and she has to knock and knock and knock. It seems like forever for him to come. Eventually he comes, and this guy, Knacker, he's decked out in clothes that are probably too young for him. And I'm not one, I don't care what people wear, but just this is what it says in the book. He's decked out in new clothes, new tracksuit, new everything. And he has this accent that's very distinct in this book. And I watch a lot of British sitcoms and shows and drama shows and murder shows and stuff. And some people, I don't know where this accent's from. It's from somewheres in the UK, I believe. But instead of saying like 3, he'll say free. Like it sounds like an F instead of a TH. He talks like that. And it's very distinct in this. Doing something, you know, just 3 o'clock, or I can't think of other words, but that's the kind of accent he has. And you can totally hear it when you're reading this book. Like, you can totally see him, what he looks like, how he's standing up against the door frame, and how he can charm the pants off a nun if he wanted to, but he's just a skinny beanpole, which isn't my cup of tea, but nice guy. On the outside, he seems that way, but then he can switch on a dime like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And when she comes knocking on his door for some money back that he was so enthusiastically excited to get, he kind of switches. He doesn't start freaking out, but he's like, well, it's just a little noise. This is an old house. It's just settling. You know, it does this. Is what old houses do. Why would you want to leave this? You're in dire straits, honey. You can't leave here, and all the stuff. So she's put in a position, he's trying to put her in a position to say that it's her fault, or he's doing her a favor to let her stay here for this amount of money. You're lucky to have this place like that for 40 quid a week, you know, that sort of thing. And we had an agreement. I can't just go back on that. If I do that for you, how can everybody will want to do that. So Long story short, she doesn't get her money back. And she's heartbroken. Like, she's heartbroken. She feels like, well, she's not suicidal, which is, you know, how a lot of people would feel, because, like, I have nobody and I have nothing, and nobody loves me, and nothing, you know. This house that she's staying at, though, like I say, it's big, it's old, it's roomy, it's cold, and it's filthy. She was led to believe this was going to be like a luxury place. The rooms are nice and big, but they're filthy. It's a shared washroom, but it's filthy, like filthy. So there's a lot of elements in this story. A lot of people said this was a terrifying book. I didn't find it terrifying. I found it very entertaining. The scariest thing in this book was not the paranormal element, although it was extremely enjoyable. It was the people in this book that was more scary than the paranormal element in this book. For me. Gosh, it makes you hate people sometimes. Not everybody, but don't like a lot of the people in this book. There's not a whole lot of people in this book, but the people, Anyways, it goes on from there. She's pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place in this apartment for 1 month. After this 1 month, she plans to be gone. She's going to work as much as she possibly can to get the down payment on another place as soon as this month is up, because she doesn't have any money right now. She tries to reach out to her ex-beau, but it doesn't pan out the way she was hoping it would. And yes, this book I would recommend. It is long. I read it in 3 days. It's some books I can read super fast. Some books I can read a 600-page book in 3 days. I can read a 200-page book in a week. You know what I mean? It all depends on what I'm doing, how I'm enjoying the book, and the style of writing. This book was really easy to read. And I like the description of the place, the scenario she was put in, the characters that were drawn in my mind. I could totally see the people in here. From their hair to their toenails, I could see them. And the street she was walking down, and when she gets off a hard days of work that nobody even appreciates her doing for the little scant money that she can get, to turn that corner, to be terrified to go back to the only place she can go back to, because she has no place. Any of the shelters that are available all have waiting lists and things like that. Just awful. So things come kind of to a head, and there's quite a paranormal element in this story, which I think was fantastic. I did. But the other evil element are the people, like I said. Sons of guns. Sons of guns. Oh, just nasty buggers. Nasty. Things come to a head, and then I don't want to get into it because it's better not to know. And then this book is broke up into 2 parts. I marked it where it was. So this part is all of the, when Stephanie is in this apartment. It's 9 days worth. Each chapter is like, there's day 6, and that's a chapter, and, well, maybe not a chapter, but a section, I guess. Anyways, 9 days, and then not so much of the book, like you can see. It's more than half that's when she's at the apartment, and that's up to page 404, and then it goes to 3 years later. Yeah. 3 years later. And then this is 3 years later. And I have to say, it's When it switches over to 3 years later, it took me a second to wrap my mind around what was going on, because it just took me a second. I guess I'm not that bright. But once everything fell into place, names and places and people, and oh, okay, I get it. I get it. It went well. It was fine. It was good. I don't want to tell you what the 3 years later is, because that's interesting too. That's part of the story, and it might not be what you think either, just so you know. So I would say I would recommend this book. It's not my favorite book, but I really enjoyed it. I really did. I could see why people would think this is a terrifying book. It depends. The scare factor for everybody is individual. That stuff doesn't quite scare me. The people scare me. And I'm not a paranoid person, really. Like, I'm not scared of people, but when you read something that depicts a certain person, the personalities, the actions that they do, you can feel that they're saturated with evil, right down to their pores, right down to their spongy tissue. Just sickening, rancid people. Those are the scary ones. And there's a couple in this book. And yeah, that's the element that is more terrifying to me. But there's a big paranormal element, like I said, that would absolutely be terrifying to other people, if that's where their scare factor comes from. So, I would absolutely recommend this. It's not, I don't think you'd be disappointed. It's certainly very enjoyable. I enjoyed it right from the beginning to the end. And for me to read it in 3 days, of course, I did enjoy it. I wanted to find out. The pace of it is pretty fast. The characters in it are very strong. So even if it's not, one chapter is not specifically all about Stephanie, bits and pieces are, but it's the other characters too. There's strong characters in this book. So it really progresses the story at a really good pace. There's not any parts that really just like an info dump or anything like that. Just, okay, all right, skim, what's going on in this chapter? No, I read every page, every word, and yeah, I would recommend this. I did enjoy it. Scary? No. But enjoyable? Yes. So anyways, that's about all I want to say about this book. Now, I have other books to talk about, but I'll do that in another video. And yeah, thanks for joining me today, this evening, tonight. And yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose. But if not, that's okay too. I still love you. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, no, I always forget. I put links to the books that I talk about down below. If you can't find it yourself on Amazon, I put a link there and you can go and purchase it there if you want to. No pressure. None whatsoever. But just makes things easier for you if you do. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good morning. And I might see you tomorrow. Bye. Bloop.